Let's turn our attention to the real world of professional wrestling as we talk about WWE TV and the road to payback, as well as everything happening leading up to what might be the biggest draft in the history of the modern era of wrestling. The draft is coming up. They're advertising the draft like it's going to be a really, really big deal. And that's what it used to be. The draft used to matter. It used to matter. People didn't, float show to show or get fakey, his contract allows him to be on whichever show and I was like, oh, come on. Stupid Brock Lesnar. I hate Brock Lesnar. And
allegedly.
One of the reasons I just don't like him. I don't like Brock Lesnar. It's true. I don't like him.
Allegedly.
And I never have. I've never been a Lesnar guy.
Allegedly.
Lee, what's going on? We had a big return this week. I alluded it to in the show open.
Can we do the draft first, though?
Oh, sure, of course.
Okay, because here's my. It's not a prediction, it's a spoiler. We know in 2025. Raw is moving to Netflix.
We know.
SmackDown is moving to USA. Raw will be the #1 show by far. Cody Rhodes is getting drafted to Raw, period. That's it. That's all I got.
Even though he has the title.
Oh, they'll just swap. They'll swap belts, but they'll just move him over because they're not color coordinated anymore.
Okay, let me say this. First of all, the tag team belts have been redesigned and renamed. They've been rebranded as the World Heavyweight Tag Team or World Tag Team
Champions, and the other will be the WWE one this Friday.
Well, we don't know. I was going to say this. We don't know what Cody's belt will be called. We anticipate there being a rebrand of Roman's unit. What? It's not leaked out. No,
it is. It's public. It's on their website. They officially changed it from the undisputed WWE Universal Championship to undisputed WWE Championship. They made that shift on their website. Cody's been referring to it that way now publicly. Like they have very subtly but very quickly. Universal's no longer a part of the branding. It's done. The only thing that needs to change is the belt design. And I still think they should have done it night one, but I still think they're bringing back the winged eagle. But yes, they're no longer, these are the blue belts and these are the red belts. So now they don't have to do a stupid, like, here, you can have the blue belt. Thanks for the red belt. See you later.
Tell me the name of the title again of Cody's
Undisputed WWE Heavyweight Championship. World Heavyweight Championship. Yeah. So they just dropped Universal.
So then the tag belts would, by comparison, also be called what? The Undisputed Tag Team Champion?
No, because Undisputed is a moniker they've used when they've combined the belts, and they're not combined. Undisputed, like Chris Jericho famously won the Undisputed Championship when he beat Steve Austin and The Rock in the same night and unified the belts, and then that's when we got the first Undisputed Championship. So basically the Roman belts got combined with the Raw belts and became one, and now they're just pulling a magic trick, and functionally it is back to just being the WWE title.
Okay, that's what I was asking. If we're not using the word Universal and we're not using the word Undisputed, so they'll just be called the WWE Tag Team Champions.
Yeah, I think. I mean, whatever they've referred to them on the belts. Wasn't it World Tag Team? I think it's World Tag Team Champions.
But that's what the Raw belts are called.
Well, the Friday again, SmackDown. They're gonna. I don't know. We'll see. See,
that's where it's so confusing to me, is because obviously we're in the middle of a major rebrand and a new era.
Right.
We don't quite know what it's called. It's not going to be called the Triple H era.
I don't know.
In the same way that the Attitude Era was not called that as it emerged, right? But they would say we have a new attitude. Okay.
Right.
Yes. So we didn't know
Yeah.
Often,
Makes sense.
as history is writing itself now, we don't know
Yeah.
what it will hold. Much like we don't know what these, I guess, what these titles will be called or
It's
what they
true.
will look like until this Friday. Lee, as we talk
That's
about the
true.
draft, we have to consider that Rhea Ripley laid her title down on the ground
So
on Monday
sad.
Night Raw
So
and
sad.
walked away from the belt.
Mm,
She has a real injury um, that was exacerbated by the Liv Morgan revenge tour.
mm.
Allegedly, this injury was in place pre-Mania, and she
Yep.
powered through it, which makes me wonder, why did she not just drop the belt to Becky at Mania? Why go
Well,
through the pomp and circumstance of all of this? Furthermore, will this title be for contention at Queen of the Ring in Jeddah in a few months?
that would be smart, but they've already announced that they're gonna crown a world champion, a female world champion next Monday. So it's like,
Why
well, don't
before the
rush that.
draft?
Don't rush
Why do
that.
that before the draft?
Right.
Why do that before Queen of the Ring?
Yeah. I think it would be really cool for the draft if it was still vacant and they drafted the belt, the position of champion to one of the shows, but the slot that person that fills it was empty. That would have been really cool. Like, oh, we have drafted Bailey. Okay, well, we've drafted the women's world championship belt, and whoever gets it comes over to, or whatever. It creates stakes. And so yeah, with Paul Levesque era booking, I would expect them to do something bigger than what it sounds like they're doing, which is just next Monday on Raw, they're going to make a champion happen. But who knows? Who knows? And I am 100%. I didn't know that Rhea was injured before Mania,
Me
but
either.
in our predictions, I called out. I think Becky should have won it, and then Tiffy Time should have come and
Oh,
started a feud with Becky, and that
what
would have
a
been your world
dream. What a
championship
dream
title.
that would have
So,
been. Tiffany
but
Stratton is the best thing in the women's division right now,
ooh, even over
as
Jade
is.
Cargill.
Yes. Jade
Wow.
is not, she does not carry the okay, Jade has this level of ring rust is kind of the term,
Hmm.
as far as like I would say LA Knight has it the same thing,
Hmm.
right? If the opposite of ring rust were Shawn Michaels in his prime, or
Okay.
AJ Styles in his prime,
Okay.
or Owen Hart in his prime, right? A guy that will make you look like you are having a 5-star match, even if you are not
Right.
good. They will
Like Logan
compensate.
Paul drinking prime.
Right, right. Well, here's the thing, right? All of the best wrestlers have always been able to put other people over at their own expense.
Yep.
You know who can't do that? Naomi.
Hmm.
Naomi came back and looks like she has lost a step
Hmm.
in the ring with today's talent and speed. And I would even say perfectionism as a quality of the new women's division. We're so beyond the jump splits and the booty bump and the gimmick and the shtick that was the Divas era.
Hmm.
It ain't cutting the mustard anymore. And I feel
Hmm.
like Jade is on the cusp of greatness, but has got to polish up
Yeah.
and have a match that's longer than 30 seconds to prove that she is polished.
Yep. I agree. They're doing good by giving her the Goldberg spot right now. Just let her come out, dominate. But I think she'll grow into that. But what you bring up is very interesting because for the first time, Papa H is overseeing the entire draft. And guess what is not the can I say bastard stepchild anymore? NXT. So
Right.
NXT is a part of the draft, and the rumor, or maybe even outright statement, is that main roster, quote unquote, superstars are not being moved down because it's no longer a demotion, but they will be moved over to
Yeah.
NXT.
I think
And
Jade
one of
needs an
those names is
NXT run.
Natalia.
Jade needs
You
an
know,
NXT run for
oh, I was
sure.
thinking Naomi, but either way.
Both. But like, I would love to see Jade have an Asuka-esque NXT run.
Hmm,
I think Jade could be the girl to break Asuka's streak as far as
interesting.
longest women's reign. Give her some
Hmm.
credibility and some reps and some mileage on those tires, because you're right. She's Goldberg at this point. A
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful Goldberg.
Wow.
She is
Wow.
gorgeous, gorgeous Goldberg, but
Saying
Goldberg
Bill wasn't
nonetheless.
gorgeous.
But you know who's not gorgeous and has a ton of ring rust? I would
Uh-oh.
argue your boy Sheamus that came back this
Uh-oh.
Monday night. Tell us about your
Uh-oh.
thoughts on Sheamus.
Well, man, I saw Sheamus and immediately thought, ooh, I identify with that man. I got the red hair, I got the dad gut going on. But I think it's interesting. People are calling him,
Sheamus should not have the dad gut. I mean, he's a
he's earned it.
four-time former WWE champion, you know?
Well, you know, I mean, he
Dad
went
gut
through
like
a massive
Sheamus.
physical ordeal. But I think it's funny is the commentary is that on one group they're calling him Fat Sheamus, and the
Oh,
other side they're calling out Fat Shaming. You know, Fat
oh,
Sheamus versus Fat Shaming. Like him
agreed.
coming back and people going like, "Hey, you're beautiful no matter what your body size is." I
Right.
think on the other side, you've got people who are like, "Oh my gosh, this guy is, you know." To quote one of our other friends, is he a turd? Is he a turd? But what I noticed in terms of, you know, we talk about who cares what size he is, but what the ring rust aspect of it,
Yeah.
in him coming back, when he went to do the white noise on Ivar. Now, of course, again, we're not
It's
being
friggin'
sizist,
Ivar,
but
first of
Ivar's a
all.
big dude. I mean, that takes a feat of strength. And like he went up to the ropes and it looked like he was at gassed. It looked like he was out of breath. He was just like,
Dude,
ooh,
bro.
ooh. And then he
I
got
don't
up there and just bam.
that was as impressive as when Hogan slammed Andre to me. That was
Yeah,
to do anything to Ivar off the top rope is A plus. That is a 5-star move. Maybe not be a 5-star match, but that's a 5-star move. If you
right.
go up top with Ivar and do anything, it's going to be really, really good. Um,
Right.
Lee, let me ask you this: are the Viking Raiders done?
No,
Um,
they're
and
moving to
here
NXT.
and here's why I'm asking for two reasons. Number one, Ivar has been on a solo run minus his partner, and it's gone really well.
Yeah.
Number two, Ivar showed up in street clothes like a biker on
Mm,
NXT and challenged the reigning North American champion to a
interesting.
match. So not only is he getting a push, now he's getting a solo title shot in NXT, the North American
Right.
title. Um, and he showed up looking like he rode his Harley there with no war paint, with
Yeah.
no Valhalla. Were the
Mm.
Viking Raiders a failed experiment of a previous era? And now they're
Ooh.
beginning to unwind the clock a little bit on him?
Well, here's some things. So now that we are more free in the Paul Levesque era, the commentators are more free. If you noticed on Monday when Ivar came out, they referred to when the Viking Raiders got called up, and they said, and he was called up to Raw in blah, 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 when they were
Yeah.
called the Viking Experience. Like
Oh,
they
that was
called it out.
so terrible.
They didn't ignore it. They just said like this was
Yeah.
stupid, and look,
Yeah, it
we're going to
was.
acknowledge it and move past it. So there was healing. There was healing in those wounds, right? But yeah, the Viking Raiders are moving to NXT. Eric, we don't know the extent of his injury, but Eric's real life wife is Valhalla, so it makes sense that
Really?
they are. Yeah,
What if
yeah,
Eric retains the Viking moniker with Valhalla and
right.
Ivar goes street biker?
That could be.
Crush.
Maybe he's ABA Ivar, you
I was
know,
thinking the new Crush. Remember when Crush was
oh,
in
Crush.
Nation of Domination as like the biker?
I liked when
Oh
he was
my
in Chronic, but
gosh.
yeah,
Oh my
anyway.
gosh, dude.
Yeah. Well, I think it opens up some interesting storylines. I mean, we've got things building. Like, I think the Raw after Mania was a little disappointing to me. I mean, you had a couple NXT people up, but other than that, there wasn't a Matt Cardona, there wasn't whatever that showed up. But now looking back with hindsight, what Triple H is doing is he's validating
Yes,
NXT in people's eyes
you're
so that
right.
when Natalia moves over, it's not like, oh, you got demoted. It's like, no, we need a workhorse over here that can put over young talent.
It was
And
interesting to see an anticlimactic um Raw after Mania.
yeah,
At least I thought there have been more exciting call ups, and I guess we can't use the term call up on
right.
SmackDown recently with
Yeah,
Braun Breaker signing a
true.
contract, with
Yeah,
Jade Cargill signing a contract.
yeah,
Do these contracts matter after the draft? At the draft, are all contracts going to be voided?
right. I don't know. We'll see.
I need you to know the
See.
answers that I'm asking.
Sorry. I'm
The
sorry.
questions.
Sorry.
Lee,
We will
what
know soon.
do you hope, like I hope, that Chelsea Green and Piper Niven get drafted to opposite brands so that Chelsea can finally be a solo superstar in the same vein as Carmella, and then
Oh,
maybe Carmella returns and Carmella and
oh.
Chelsea become the greatest heel tag team of all time? Wouldn't that be phenomenal?
Uh, yeah, I mean, at least they've leaned into the random pairing and they've kind of given Piper a personality lately. Because before, her personality is, I'm upset that I'm here. At least with the Chelsea partnering. Now she's like, oh, she's kind of becoming Chelsea, you know, and all
It's
that.
so
But
weird. And she's still got on the I
the
think
Scottish
Piper and
brogue.
Natalia would be a great tag team.
Oh,
A great
interesting.
tag team. Like, let
Interesting.
them go on a title run together. That would be fun.
Yeah,
That would be
yeah.
dominant, right? Natalia
Well,
doesn't really fit
maybe.
anywhere, I don't think. And I don't
I
think
mean,
she
she's the
has.
longest serving woman in the company, but that's, I mean, that's kind of her role. She's now elder statesman and she's still acting like she's, you know, the hotness that's been, you know, that's new hotness kind of thing.
Super weird.
So
Natalia
who
is super
knows?
weird to me. She's an enigma to me because to me, Natalia and Naomi represent the mid card of the previous era of women's wrestling
Right.
that has been passed up at this point
Yeah.
with
Well,
talent.
I mean, they did that for years. Like when, I mean, not that Roddy Piper was mid card, but I mean, he was at points. But like, you know, when Roddy Piper came back, or when they did, you know, and they'd be involved in mid card feuds and stuff. Bob Backlund. I mean, even, those are actually old top tier guys. Even though Bob Backlund is weird, his wrestling character is weird.
You're obsessed with pale redheaded wrestlers like Sheamus and Bob Backlund. That is, I think that's like it's representation for the gingers, you know.
Somebody here's got salt and ketchup hair, and it isn't you. Just
You got
saying.
that spicy cayenne. You got the Cajun pepper.
Cajun pepper, spicy pepper.
Yeah,
Oh, anyway. Yeah, I'm excited about the draft. I think that things are going to move well. I think that 100% Cody, CM Punk, and Drew McIntyre are going to be Raw because those are your draws. And I
Cody
think Damian
Punk.
Priest. Damian
Okay.
Priest will be moved over to SmackDown. I think Jey Uso will be moved over to SmackDown because they did a thing where they established him as like Cody coming out to say like you're the guy on Raw. I've got to
Right,
go back to
right.
SmackDown. They're gonna flip it. I
You
mean,
don't need me anymore.
main event is gonna be over on SmackDown
I
for
don't think he's a
sure.
main eventer.
Yeah,
So we've got problems there. I don't think he's a main eventer. I don't think he can carry the main event card,
yeah,
especially now that Jimmy's been jumped. This
yeah,
might be poised for an Uso reunion. Maybe
yeah.
they're going to be maybe the good bloodline versus the bad bloodline, and we've got this all-out Samoan
Mm,
war for the tribe.
that'd be
That
cool.
might be interesting. The only problem I have with that is oftentimes, and one of the dark histories of WWE wrestling is they don't quite know what to do with minority wrestlers, and so they have them feud amongst
Yeah.
themselves.
Like the
They
LWO.
Yeah, it's like, hey, what do we do with these incredible Latino high flyers?
Right.
Let's put them against other incredible
Right.
Latino high flyers, right?
Right.
Ahmed Johnson. Who's he? Oh, Farouk, right? He's
Yeah.
got to be. It's like, wait a second. Can we ever have like? Can we ever just have like it be normal for there to
Right.
be now I'm saying interracial wrestling versus interracial wrestling, where
Yeah.
it has to be samey.
Yeah.
I just, to me, that's always been odd. That's always been an odd, like I love Bobby Lashley's group, and it was one of the first, I don't know, like maybe semblances of this what I was hoping was going to be a really fun and powerful like heel faction that was different and fresh and current. And then I just feel like they don't quite know what to do with them, and they don't quite
Yeah.
know who to pin them against. And then
Agreed.
like, and there's like, are they gonna, and then I started thinking, oh, they're probably gonna bring back Omos, or they're probably gonna, or whatever, right? Like
Right.
it's always a strange, and I know and the reason I feel really comfortable talking about this topic is because we've talked about it in great lengths with our friend Iron Sheik 84, who's seen the same thing his whole life, and being very
Of Arab descent.
yeah, as I say, racially and ethnically different than us. His ancestry is constantly cast as a trope of foreign heel, right?
Yeah.
Foreign Middle Eastern heel, and like,
Right.
what do we do with these guys? And so yeah, there's a complexity to it all, and not that we know on any level the solution, other than let's mix it up. Let's just keep things, let's allow the diversity to breathe and to grow and to feel organic and to feel fun, and stables don't always need to be the same ethnicity and background, and they don't need to only feud against the same ethnicity and background, and we're okay with this as a maybe an acceptance of modern times and cultural progress, right? Not to get preachy, Lee. Does that feel okay? Does that feel, just like kind of where we are as wrestling fans?
Yeah, I mean, I think in particular, watching WrestleMania and seeing Dom just jump casually into the LWO storyline and then right back to the Judgment Day, I was like, why aren't they doing LWO versus Judgment Day? Like,
yes,
that would have been great. Or Bobby, well, of course, then it becomes like almost race wars, and that's scary too. But you got the LWO, you got the Judgment Day, you got Bobby Lashley's group, the Hurt Business 2.0. Like, we
right.
have this warfare going on between them. That would be really compelling and interesting. Now, it would be better if the racial diversity was mixed into there, but I mean, it makes
Sure.
sense. Like, this is the Latino heritage, we are standing up. I mean, that makes sense. The pride, it's this is our African American heritage. So I mean, they are incorporating racial elements already, but
Right.
yeah,
And
why does
I
it have
don't
to
think
be LWO Civil War
right.
constantly?
I don't think the perception would be race wars, so to
Right.
speak. Like,
I
I
hope
think the
not.
perception would be normalcy. I think the perception would be like, oh, it totally makes sense that if a top faction is the bloodline, then they would inevitably have a run-in with other factions that were equally dominant and
Yeah,
powerful and intimidating, like the
you'd
Judgment
hope.
Day.
Right.
Why can we not get a bloodline versus Judgment Day? Now, Judgment Day,
Yeah.
to their credit, might be the only faction with racial diversity and international diversity. When we have Finn from Ireland, right?
Ireland.
And we have Rhea from Australia, and we have Dominic from from his or
USA, but heritage is
and
Latino.
and that's where it's just really interesting.
And then Damian Priest is
Puerto
the
Rico.
first Puerto Rican
Yeah.
world champion
Yeah.
since Pedro Morales.
Judgment Day is probably my favorite faction at this point, and I'm worried that the Rhea's injury in the draft is going to bust them up. I think this is the end of the Judgment Day, and I think they finally became likable, credible, fun to follow, interesting faction. And now that they've kind of made it, now it's time to bust them up, which is really sad. But what can we learn from the Judgment Day, Lee? Can we learn that an internationally diverse and racially eclectic group can actually coexist and get over and be title and have title reigns and feud with anyone and it not be a racial deal, right?
Yeah. Well, and you missed JD McDonough.
Well,
but he's got to be what, Scottish? Because McDonough.
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know.
So you got there, and then you missed the most important member
don't
of
even say our
the
truth.
Judgment Day. R-Truth,
he's
the
in the
best
Judgment Day.
member of
he's
Judgment
not in the
Day
Judgment
ever.
Day. He's not in the Judgment Day.
He held
Truth.
the World Tag Team Championships alongside. He said, "I brought him back to the Judgment Day."
That was such
he is my favorite thing on TV.
Moment. That was a perfect moment when he slipped in the title amongst the other titles, and he's not supposed to be there. That was brilliant. Well, Lee, I think that's all the time we have for this segment of WWE TV, and that also is all the time we have for this episode of Champions Chat today. As we go on to our real lives and the work we have to do, we'll try to push this episode out and get it to you as quickly as possible. One disclaimer for those of you who listen to the audio version of this podcast, we are completely up to date on all back episodes. If you didn't know we had an audio version, you can look on anywhere you like podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify. Just search for WWE Champions Chat podcast and you will find us. That's all for me, Lee. Take us out with any final burning sensations you have.
Pause.
Remember, don't make it inappropriate in the Discord, okay?
Salt and ketchup, redhead. Anyway, so yeah, well, I was gonna say it's an honor to be a part of the community. We did it, we talked about that. Now I'll just say, hey, make sure you check us out on Friday nights on the official WWE Champions Twitch channel, where we are gonna power rate whoever is this weekend's character. I'm guessing a showboat version of Karrion Kross. What about you? Join us on Friday.
As a zombie?
Conversation.
As a zombie?
No, they're not doing zombie. They don't do zombies during Spring Outbreak.
What?
I mean, they do gear. They do
no
gear.
New zombies?
No new
kidding
zombie
me?
this weekend.
This is the worst week ever.
And end episode.
Let me hit stop. How do I hit stop? I never know.